Hello, hello, lovely people of both LinkedIn and YouTube. Another happy Monday. We are back with another LinkedIn Live interview. If you want to watch this one on replay or any of the past interviews, you can scroll through my newsfeed or you can go to my YouTube channel and you can find them there more easily. But without me taking too much time, I want to welcome George to the show. Hello, George. It's a pleasure to have you here. And let's start with you giving us a little introduction, and then we'll go from there.
I love it. Thank you for having me. I'll give everybody the short version because we have more time to talk and less time to listen to me. And so, how did I get here? I started my career as an entrepreneur on accident. I was an active duty Marine in the military for 12 years. I planned on doing 20 years and retiring. And I got injured one too many times, almost lost my legs, one too many head injuries. And they said they were going to medically separate me. And at that time, my life was pretty dark. So I wanted to take control of it. So I taught myself how to cook. And in that process, started documenting the journey and accidentally became a food blogger. And so when I got out of the military, I basically fell into a job where I would cook every day, document it on the internet, and help other people learn how to cook. Well, fast forward 2 years, I became one of the top 5 paleo food bloggers, ended up launching a cookbook, became a 22-week New York Times bestseller, launched an app, hit #1 in the world, built 1 million social media followers organically through that business, and realized I didn't really like cooking. So it was a kind of a hard business to be in. And, but what I did love was helping people. And because I didn't have a background in business, I didn't go to business school, marketing school, everything I did and I learned came from basically trial and error of just being efficient and focusing on the customer first. And so once I realized I didn't like cooking, I started telling people like what I had done, but I didn't want to do it anymore. And someone was like, God, I would love it if you helped me do the same thing in my business. And then someone else was like, I'd love if you helped me do the same thing in my business. And so basically overnight, I went from being a food blogger to becoming a consultant of be like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. And so I started taking the 8 years of experience I had in my own business, multi-7-figure business, and applying it into other people's businesses with the customer in mind. So what I call the relationships beats algorithms approach. And so basically come in and design customer journeys that are congruent and aligned with the business from the top down, from the C-suite to the employees all the way to the customers, so that everything that a business does is moving the needle forward, both in their customers' lives and business life. And so once that career started, I walked away from the other company, I exited, and then I became a digital marketing consultant. And so now I've worked with companies like Adidas, Titleist, TaylorMade, sports teams, Vital Proteins on it. And now I own 7 of my own companies, a couple e-commerce companies, consulting companies, and a podcast. And now I spend every moment of every day helping entrepreneurs ethically build and scale their company so that we can all have a good legacy and have a good impact. And that's what gets me to today.
Well, that is one hell of an intro. And, I love cooking, by the way, I really do, unlike you. But 2 things that really stood out to me was I've been saying this for a few years now that we are entering relationship economy, that all that transactional stuff and the auto bots and auto messages and what people are doing on LinkedIn will no longer work. I mean, it's still working, but it has lower and lower and lower impact. And even when we look at big brands, they're shifting a lot towards CEOs opening Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts and sharing stuff and so on. So that's one thing, that we are in that process of entering the relationship economy. And the other thing which stood out a lot, in what I do as a business coach, one of the first things that we change with our clients is focus on customer experience. So many entrepreneurs are overlooking that part, and you spend so much money on lead generation and sales process and everything, and you have people who like you and trust you, and no, you're just focused on getting new people in, but they're not taking care of people who are already in the ecosystem.
Yep.
So where should we start first? Like, my interviews are really focused on trying to give the audience as much value as possible. Now,
Mm-hmm.
here on LinkedIn, it's fellow entrepreneurs. So they're already in business. They're already probably at 7, 8 figures, 9 figures. What are some of the first things that they can do and change in their business?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And there were some threads that I want to pull that you said. So you absolutely nailed it in what you described. And one of the things I say is you can't adopt any more children until you feed the ones that you have. And when we think about customer experience, when we think about relationship marketing, we think about just relation in general. I define marketing as nothing more than a two-way value-based long-term relationship, because all marketing is a relationship between humans. Humans and people do not buy the best product, they buy the best relationship. And so one of the things that is so important to understand as an entrepreneur at any level is you will never win in business if somebody buys your product and never achieves the desired goal, because they turn into an anti-marketing machine. And so what you just talked about was how everybody gets obsessive about buying attention, right? For lead generation, bringing in leads, give me more leads, give me more sales, without realizing that the easiest way to get more sales is actually fulfilling on the promise on the back end. 93% of marketing is word of mouth. And when was the last time we've ever had a customer been like, oh, I bought this product and I never used it, go buy it. Or I bought this service and it didn't work, go use it. Never. Human beings only share for one of 5 reasons: humor, credibility, controversy, education, and social status. And any of those things will tilt their lever to share, but they have to have an experience. They have to have moved one step closer to a goal or accomplished a goal to then have an experience to share about that product or goal. And so what I tell everybody is that there is not $100 million, $200 million, billion-dollar business that's built on just acquisition. The real work comes in retention and depth on the back end. And so the first thing that I tell people to focus on is actually fulfillment. And this is a really interesting concept, because the current paradigm that exists, and I think you nailed it, that we're shifting out of this, but I've seen it for the last 10 years, is that once somebody buys, our job is done. But actually, our job doesn't start until somebody buys. The moment they buy, our job is then to fulfill on what it is that they bought. And so when a company calls me, and whether you're physical products, digital products, service-based, doesn't matter, I say the enemy of a company is not that somebody doesn't buy your product. It's that somebody buys it and doesn't use it, right? Like, can you imagine buying a supplement and then letting them just put it in their pantry and then never touching it? 3 months later, every time they open that pantry, it's a negative experience. Oh, I didn't use it. Oh, it didn't work. And they might have never taken it, but they're still going to blame you. Or they sign up for your service and they're like, oh, I've been paying for this membership for 3 months. I haven't gotten anything out of it. Oh, it's a waste of money, even though they never leveraged it. And it's not their responsibility to leverage it. It's our responsibility to create a container or a customer journey that guarantees that they can leverage it, or at least lean in for our support to help them leverage it. So the first thing that I say every single time is, before you adopt any more children, make sure you feed the ones that you have. And so tangibly, if you sell a physical product like a supplement, the worst thing you can do is have them buy the supplement and then 2 days later get an email selling them something else when they haven't even received their product yet. But if you send them an email a day being like, hey, it's on the way, this is how to use it, these are the best recipes, these are the mistakes people make, let us know how to do it, I'm going to make this number up, but you probably increase the likelihood of them buying another product by like 60-70%, because then they're actually using it. You've pre-handled objections before it's gotten to your house, and then they're excited to be a part of it. And the same thing goes with service. And so that's kind of how I look at it.
George, I jumped in because, like, I talk with hundreds, if not thousands of people every year, fellow entrepreneurs. I think you are the first person to ever include post sales into the client journey. Mm-hmm. Everybody is know, like, trust, marketing, sales, and that's the client journey. But then we have to deliver. Then we have to have customer support. We need to have great customer experience, which is different than customer support, proactive versus reactive. And even the back office and the experience with the back office goes into client journey. So all the pillars in our company go into client journey. And I think you are so far the only person who has ever said it in this way. So I just really wanted to stop here and just, let the audience focus on that and think in their business how they can create a wholesome client journey. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I got a point for you as well, and thank you for that. And for everybody wondering, like it's patience, right? Like it's patience. We promise the world to our customers. We're like, we're going to help you double your business. We're going to help you get 80% open rates. We're going to help you lose the weight, right? Knowing that when they buy the product, there's going to be a journey, right? Like it's going to take a week or a month or a year. But yet we try to cram it all into one experience, which makes it actually impossible for our customers to achieve the goal. And patience is the name of the game. And so I watch everybody looking at their business from an acquisition standpoint, and their attribution window is like 1 day. And I was like, cool, name me the last time you made an entire decision and changed your life or changed your habits in 1 day, right? There's a really good book every entrepreneur needs to read by Jonah Berger. It's called The Catalyst. It's how to change anybody's mind. But it really gets into the psychology of our brains. And when we really think about this effectively for our business, you think about a customer, any customer, whether they're a paying customer or they just gave you their email address or they're just giving you their attention. The only way that that customer can move one step closer into your business is if they feel seen, heard, and respected. And if we think about this in our lens, when was the last time we went into a business we felt unsafe, disconnected, unsupported, and unimportant? And we're like, hey, here's my credit card. Or, oh, you didn't make me feel good. Take my email. Never, ever, 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 ever. And so one of the things that I tell everybody, and this is the easiest win for any of you, it doesn't matter what your business is, change the courting period and make it longer. If you want to give somebody a lead magnet, deliver the lead magnet and take them on a journey for a week, not a day. If you're selling a product or a service, help them use it for 2 weeks after they get it. Have the ability to be in a relationship with people, because what we also forget is that when somebody comes in and buys from us, whether they buy a physical product, a digital product, or a service, they don't have 8 hours a day wide open with nothing to do. They're trying to squeeze what we have to offer into a life that's probably already full. And so what we have to do is create what's called the movable middle, where we realize that where they are and what they want isn't where they are, and where they're going is where they're going to be spending their time. So they're like, I'm here, but I want to go there, but they can't make that change overnight. And so if you give them too much, or like, oh, go do this or try this, it's going to overwhelm them and create reactance, and they're just going to freeze. But if you're like, hey, I know this is where you want to go in 30 days, but listen, I'm just going to email you every day, 5 minutes a day, 1 minute a day, and I'm going to give you one thing to get there. You're going to help them create space. You're going to help them actually achieve the goal, and you're going to win in the long run, because that's where you start to capitalize on, the psychology, the neural pathways. Every time they have a positive experience, they associate it with you. Every time they have a breakthrough, they associate it with you. And I've done this with companies across the board. I had one company in particular, it was a supplement company, and they were selling subscriptions on the front. And they loved it because they were acquiring customers, break even, and they were averaging a 3.5 month retention. So they would stay for about 4 shipments. And they're like, we're nailed it, but they couldn't scale. And I said, because that's not the way to do it. So I removed the subscriptions from the front. And then I said, they're only allowed to buy one, because my biggest fear is that they're going to end up with 2 or 3 bottles that they don't use. And so they bought one, and then we emailed them every day for 30 days, helpful stuff. Here's how to use it in a smoothie. Here's what time of day to do it. Here's a workout for you. Here's how to sleep better. And then on week 3, we said, hey, you're probably running low, and so here's a coupon to get on subscription. The retention went from 3.5 months to 14 months by just having the patience and waiting 3 weeks to offer that subscription. That added an additional 7 figures in annual revenue to the company by only waiting 3 weeks to offer a subscription. And so when you think about a customer journey, in order for it to be fully complete, it's not where do I get their attention, how do I get their email or credit card and then sell. That's the beginning of the journey. Then it's what do I have to create? What does my team, my company, my customer service, my emails, my social, my paid media have to include to take them on this journey to fulfill on what we promised? And it could be as simple as, oh yeah, it's going to take them a good 2-3 weeks to feel the effects of this. Let's email them every couple days. Let's make sure we're posting on social. Let's, empower our customer service team. But your job isn't complete as a business owner until you know where your customers are going 12 months from now before they do, and you create a journey to help them get there. So that's my little tangent on that one.
No, I absolutely love it. I mean, understanding the lifetime value of client is crucial, and I'm shocked sometimes how many fellow entrepreneurs, even at 7, 8 figures. I mean, I get it that a 5-figure entrepreneur doesn't yet understand the lifetime value. I mean, they've probably been in business for too short to even have the understanding of the lifetime value. But an 8-figure entrepreneur, I mean, they've been in business for a few years and not even understanding what lifetime value means and not knowing how to calculate it, how to get to that number. So I love this. George, do you have some more examples like this?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I believe that examples like this are the most valuable way and the easiest way for us to get a message across. So, maybe from a different industry.
I'll share a few of them. Yeah. And one thing you just said too, when you think about like the figure, right? 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, right? Like I've been a part of 2 unicorns that we've helped get there. And here's what's really important to remember. Can you build a 6, 7, or 8-figure business on the front in acquisition? Yes. Will it remain in business? No, because those bridges that were burnt transactionally are customers that can never come back to increase that lifetime value. Because it doesn't matter how good you are, how good your product is, or how good your service is. You can't build a business on one-time customers. It's just impossible, because that one-time customer also then never gives referrals or anything else. And so I hear this a lot. Well, they did it and they're spending money on ads and they're spending money on leads. I said, yes, but if you pay attention, this is their 7th business or 7th product in the last 3 years, and they have to keep doing this launch model. Your job is to create a container, right? A world. I call it the Truman Show, if you've ever seen that movie. Like, once I get your attention, I want you to live in my world. I just want you in my world. I don't care if you're buying from me, reading my emails, watching social. I just want you in my world. So when the time comes, you're able to lean in and make a decision that best supports you. And then in between decisions, you're still in my world, getting nurtured, getting value, and giving me and you the ability to increase the lifetime value of our relationship. And so I'll use myself for an example, right? So I come into companies all the time. Normally high 6 figures and above, but normally they're 7 and 8-figure companies. I come in, consult with, and I'm like, hey, in 3 days, we're going to turn your Titanic. We're going to, 10x, 20x your business, or at least get clear email, customer journey, business ops, all that fun stuff. And so everyone's like, well, how do you get these deals? How do people pay you this money? You don't have contracts. You don't have a website. You don't have like a lead magnet or an opt-in. I was like, I do. I meet people every day. And so a tangible examples, I gave a keynote at an event, and this is for anybody in the service-based industry. And normally when I give a keynote, everybody's selling at their back tables, right? They're selling this, they're selling this. And I stand on stage, I'm like, hey, I'm here for the day. My job is to help you. I'm not selling anything. You can't pay me. Actually, you literally cannot pay me. So I will not leave until I answer every one of your questions. And so when I'm done with my keynote, I answer questions, and they're like, oh, I want this and I want this. And I can't answer them all in person. So I said, listen, if you send me an email with these exact pieces of information that I ask for, I will send you a response and a recommendation. And so they would email me personally. I would respond like, hey, do this over the next 90 days, over the next 180 days. And I could have easily collected, 6 figures, 7 figures in consulting revenue and been like, no, pay me. But it wouldn't have had the impact I wanted. And so I had them email me. I gave them basically a prescription, and I told them to go. Well, over the next year, I closed multiple 7 figures. And of the 41 people that emailed me, 40 of them ended up working with me. But it didn't happen in one day. It happened over 12 months, right? And so when we think about what we're doing as business owners, whether you're in the service-based, consultant, physical product, every interaction that we have with a potential customer, our entire job is to meet them where they are and empower them to move one step closer to becoming our dream customer. And one of the distinctions that I've made is I've seen for years, even in my students, like, how do I find more? How do I find more? I'm like, you don't. I was like, scarcity is finding more, abundance is creating more. And so when I look at this game, I look at how can I create my ideal customer, even if that might be a year from now, 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, which is why I do not say no to anybody. But then when I start to think about, oh, well, I have all these entrepreneurs that are finding me and they all need help with this one thing. That's how I can create a lead magnet. And so, for example, one of the things that I teach is customer journey, the conscious and subconscious customer journey. And once you understand it, it makes it a really easy game to play on social media and email. And so I realized that everybody coming into my world needed to know that. And so I said, oh, you know what? Before they get into my mastermind, before they hire me for consulting, before they do anything, let me help them. And so I said, hey, I don't want your email. I want to give you this video. Here's a video, 30 minutes of me walking you through it. And then if you want the breakdown step by step, give me your email and I'll walk you through it. And literally over 7 days, I took them through each step of the journey. And then at the end, I had them submit their homework for me to look at. And it was automated. My team did it. It was really, really easy. It took us maybe a minute. But of all the people that came through it, only the ones that finished, literally almost all of them ended up in a program, in a consulting or a mastermind. And then everyone who didn't finish, I knew where they were hung up or stuck in their business. And so my team reached out and supported them. And so there's umpteen ways to do this beyond belief. And so what I would challenge everybody to start thinking about is stop thinking about how can I get their attention to then give them something or sell them something. It's like, hey, if I'm going to get their attention, when I have it, how can I create a win in their life before they ever work with me? That sets the paradigm. That sets the context. And think about it. It's like when you've had an experience with a company and you're like, hey, I want, like, no, don't pay me, just put into practice, and they made your life better. You can't stop raving about them. You can't stop talking about them because they weren't transacting with you. And so the way that I think about it, if you're thinking about your business, you're like, oh, I know who my paying customers are. Like, I know who they are, what traits they have, what businesses they're in. I've solved for them. Now, let me solve for the people that are 1 to 3 steps away from that. And ask yourself, what can I create that when I get their attention, I can give them in exchange for their email or a call or something else that's going to actually help them move from that spot to this spot, so they can become my dream customer. And that's where patience comes in. And so for me, when I look at quote unquote value ladders, I don't associate credit card purchases with them of like, oh, they're, spending $27, $97. No. I just look at them where they are in the journey. And I'm like, if I'm getting a whole lot of attention from people that would quote unquote get a low ticket offer or self-liquidating offer, I know where they are in their journey. And so then I go to not what can I sell them, what can I give them that's going to actually make them better to come into my $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and actually help deliver it. And so I'll find those people, and instead of having a $7, $17, $27 offer, I'll make a $200 course for free or video series for free and write 5 to 10 emails to take them through it. And then at the end of it, give them a chance to get on a call with me and my team. And yeah, maybe I would have got $27, put them into a 12-week course and maybe close it. But instead, I help them. Most of them come in. And then if they don't, all they do is turn around and tell all of their friends. The average human gives 8 to 10 recommendations, brand recommendations or non-recommendations in a 60-second conversation. And so the way that my brain works is if I can load their gun with positive ammunition, they can't be like, oh man, I met this guy, George. He was wearing a pink hoodie. He told me my email marketing was broken. He gave me everything I needed to do for free and it worked. And so you should never work with him. It's quite opposite. They're like, God, he helped me for free. Can you imagine what it's like when he's going to pay? He won't take me on because I'm not in the right place yet, but he's helping me get there. And so I kind of take this view of the real world and I put it into digital marketing. And so like, let's think about like an Apple store. If Apple only allowed you in the store if you pre-purchased a product, less than 90% of their traffic would come into their store because only about 10% of people that come into an Apple store that day buy. The rest of them come in and touch the phone. They have a conversation. They play with it. And they come in as many times as required until they feel safe enough to make a purchasing decision. That's what makes Apple so great. But notice how Apple doesn't ask for your email at the door or say, you need to do this. Apple just creates this container with this positive experience that makes you want to come back and allows you to make your own purchasing decision. And so if you have your company, whether it's service-based, consulting, physical products, instead of saying, how can I get something from them, like their email, realize you already have your attention. They've already given you their attention. And so my question would be, what can you give them to make sure that that attention they gave you was positively rewarded while moving them closer to you? And so those are just some of the thoughts that I like to think about. And like a lead magnet, for example, and this will be the last example I give before I shut up for a minute. But when you think about a lead magnet, right, we see these lead magnets and we're like, oh, 7 days to lose 5 pounds, or these 3 simple steps. There's only 2 customer journeys that you can design. This is my IP, but I'll tell them to you now. And it's either a duration-based journey or a direction-based journey. And so if you promise somebody that you're going to help them lose, or let's say you're going to help somebody start a walking habit or a water habit in 7 days. Well, basically what you're saying is they're going to be protected in that journey for at least 7 days. You're not going to sell to them or offer them anything because you said, I'm going to get you from A to B in 7 days. So that means if you're going to get their email, you need to design a journey that lasts for at least 7 days so they can complete that experience and escalate up. That's a duration-based. Direction-based would be if you need them to understand like a model, like 3 steps or 4-step process. And so then what you would have to ask yourself is, what steps would have to be created for them to understand what we were going to cover, the overview of the model, each section of the model, and that might end up at 10 days or 11 days. But once you put that level of intentionality and planning into it, it absolutely changes your business. And so when I say, hey, I'm going to help you send your first email to your cold email list in 7 days, email 1 is congratulations, welcome, so excited you're here. Email 2 is prep work. Hey, I want you to be prepared to win. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you have to have. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., check your email for this subject line. We're going to get started. And then it's day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the last email is a transition, like a wrap it all together. Now that you've done this, you should have sent your first email. Whether you sent it or not, you're already in a different place than when you started. So now's the time to jump in on a call with my team or get into our mastermind. But when I allow them to complete that journey, it creates the space for them to move up because there's space. But if somebody's in the middle of a journey, in the middle of a fulfillment sequence, in the middle of a product, they don't have space to move up. And so every time you try to sell to them, you try to push them, they actually get more defensive because they're like, wait, I can't do anymore. I can't do anymore. So those are just some of the examples I would give.
I absolutely love them. And I mean, honestly, I could just have you here for another hour or two and, just fire away all of those different examples. I mean, I really, really loved it. But, since we are aiming for 30-ish minutes and we're very close to that, I want to ask you, so you've mentioned masterminds and being a consultant. So like, who are your, let's call them ideal clients? From the audience, who should reach out to you, and what is the best way to start the journey with you? Is that your website or just connecting with you on LinkedIn, or what's the proper way?
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. So here's what I'll tell you. My ideal customer, my ideal client is somebody who loves what they do, loves their business, loves their team, and loves their customers. And so if you meet those wickets, it doesn't matter whether you're doing 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, or 9 figures. My team and I would love to support you. But here's the deal. I'm a little crazy, right? I know it. I belong in a straitjacket, and that's my level of crazy. So the best place to start is my podcast. So it's called The Mind of George Show. It's free. I literally, every episode, I walk strategically step by step. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I give you the keys to the kingdom. Because if nobody's told you yet, no consultant, no coach has your answer. You have your answer. It's your game. It's your race. You're the Olympic athlete. Our job is to help you play your best game to win the race, but you have to run it. So I want you to get acquainted. I want you to realize my level of crazy. Just go to the podcast. It's called The Mind of George Show on every platform. It's linked on my website, mindofgeorge.com, and you'll see. And there's even a bonus video, because one of the things I alluded to that I want to say for everybody is when you think about your business, there's only 4 types of customer journeys that exist. I call them people that are stuck in the Bermuda Triangle, picked a port, chosen a destination, and smooth sailing. In other words, people that bounce, learn more, opt in, and buy. And on my homepage, I have a free training video, no email required, where I walk you through all 4 of them and the best examples of how to plug them into your business. And so I'd say you're welcome into my world. If you care, if the word ethical doesn't give you goosebumps and make you run away, you love your team, you love your customers, and you love what you do, because we can help you with anything else. So the best place is my website, and then the podcast. And just so everybody knows, like some examples, I've worked with plastic surgeons, chiropractors, service-based businesses, professional athletes, actors, A-list celebrities, sports teams. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, marketing and business is about people. And so the wrapping paper might be a different industry, but it's still people to people to people. And when you focus on the principles that matter in business and marketing that play the long game, they apply to any industry, any business, because they're not strategies and tactics. They're principles that stand the test of time. And that's what I'll help you do. So that's the easiest way for me to say it.
Perfect. I mean, H to H, human to human.
Human to human.
That's where we are. So yeah, like absolutely, I agree with like just everything that you said. So I'm gonna. Well, I'll invite you after we are done with the interview. Would you mind just dropping the link in the comment section?
Oh yeah, of course.
Under the LinkedIn video.
Yeah.
That way, people can add you on LinkedIn or follow you on LinkedIn. They'll see your name, and because most of the views of this LinkedIn Lives actually come after the recording, not on the live, but later on in the next 2 days. So most people will be able to see that, as they start watching the replay. So
perfect. Yeah, I'll pop in it.
Cool. Well, George, 2 more questions. The first one, tell us something about George. Our audience is always curious to get to know the person behind all the business advice. So tell us a little bit something, share with our audience.
Yeah, so here's something really interesting. I never knew how to cook, and 2 years later, I was a New York Times bestselling cookbook author. I tied a world record for a standing box jump after they wanted to amputate my legs, and I wear pink almost every day, but I'm a licensed scuba diver, I'm a licensed skydiver, and I've had a pretty crazy life. And now I spend my time giving away all my time to try to make this world a better place. And so for me now, it's time with my family, time with my wife, time with my kids, and time in nature. But yeah, those are some of the funny things. But if you Google my name, George Bryant box jump, you'll see some of the stuff when I tied a world record when I was in Afghanistan.
Wow. Well, that's really nice to know. I'm going to go and Google that after we are done recording this. Now, my last question. So it can be related to the topic we talked about or just general business thing. But what would be that last golden of nugget that you want to give the audience before you and I say goodbye?
Yeah, I love it. There's only one sustainable way to build, launch, scale, and maintain a business, and it's congruency. And one of the things that I say is nobody has a marketing problem. Everybody has a relationship problem with themselves, their team, and their customers, informed in that order, which is why I trademarked relationships beats algorithms. But I'm going to tell you right now, the fastest path to success is authenticity, transparency, and vulnerability. Be yourself. Love yourself. Don't try to put yourself in somebody else's box, do it somebody else's way, or make yourself look like anybody else. Unapologetically own who you are from a place of like power, confidence, and love, and give yourself, your team, and your customers the ability to do that, because you, whether you realize it or not, you are the USP in your business. You are the unique selling position in your business. You are the one who's delivering the message. The messenger is the one who makes a difference. And so focus and have time for yourself. Prioritize time for yourself before everything else, and then give the rest of that time away to your team, your customers, your family, and whatever else is going to help you fill that tank. But the most important relationship to master when it comes to life and business is the one with yourself, because it's the one that you're guaranteed to be in until the day that you die, whether you like it or not.
I absolutely love that. Well, George, it's a huge pleasure to be able to have you as a guest. I really appreciate you for coming to the show. I appreciate you for everything that you do, for everything that you are standing by, your values, your all of it. So thank you so much. I wish you nothing but all the best on your journey in helping the world to be a better place. And I do hope that I'll be able to talk to you again soon.
Thank you for
Take
having
care.
me. For everybody here, thank you for giving me the one gift I can never give back to you, which is time. And so I hope it was Phil and worth it. Let us know how I can support you. And I'm here anytime for you. Hit me up anytime, all of you, including you, and I'll be here to support you. You guys have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, George. Bye bye. Okay. Wow. This was an interesting interview. I honestly wasn't expecting to be so impressed by everything that George said. We had a brief get to know each other. We were introduced by a friend. And, sometimes I bring guests who I really know intimately. With George, it wasn't like that. And I was really blown away right now by all the value he dropped with the way he is approaching business, relationship first, relationship economy. All of those things are absolutely crucial if we want to create a long-term sustainable business and not just go from funnel to funnel, from launch to launch. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And of course, next Monday, we'll be back with another interview. Until then, I wish everybody happy Monday. All the best in the coming week. I hope you're all safe and healthy wherever you are in the world with all the craziness that's going on in the world. And hopefully, I'll see you again next Monday. Don't forget, guys, that we are streaming both to LinkedIn and to YouTube. So if you want to see some of the past interviews, you can check them out on my YouTube channel and watch them there. Take care and see you next Monday. Bye.